We are the wise and wicked crones. Got no time for lies, no time for casting stones. Wise and wicked, no time for fears or prevarications. Wise and wicked, gonna rise among the nations. Crones are gonna spread our wisdom around the nations. We are the wise and wicked crones. Wise and wicked crones.
Hi there. Welcome
Hello.
everybody. Welcome everybody to the very, very first episode of Wise and Wicked Crones with Leea Nutson and Peggy Sample.
And we want to acknowledge that this episode is being recorded on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee peoples.
So you might be wondering, okay, what are these two up to? And I'll start with our mission statement, which goes like this. I'm going to read it. We have accumulated well over a century of wisdom between us. So many lessons and experiences have led us to be both wise and wicked crones. Our mission is to bring you thought-provoking, interesting, perhaps challenging, and often humorous conversations that will enhance your life and enlighten your spirit. Nothing is sacred. These will be frank discussions.
And the opinions expressed in this episode are our own. You may disagree with what you hear, and that's fine. Feel free to disregard what we say and move on to the next. And we wish you the best of life, love, and happiness.
I love how you put that. That's so great, Leea. For anyone who doesn't know us, we'll give you the little quick intro. In my life, I have been a daughter, a sister, a friend, a lover, a wife, a mother. I've been a student, a teacher, a wounded soul, and a healer. And I've experienced a lot, and I've learned from it all. At least I hope I have. And Leea.
Well, my story is quite similar. I am a mother, a grandmother. I am a widow. I am a rabbit knitter, a yoga enthusiast, a dog lover, a drinker of fine wines,
Ooh.
and I am a political wonk.
That is true.
And sometimes political activist as well. That's what Bob used to call me, a political activist.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Anybody, when we refer to Bob, that is Lea's husband, who is in spirit now. And today what we're going to talk about is what is a crone? Because everyone has kind of their own version of it, and it's been taken over and turned into like a derogatory term a lot of the time, but that's not how we see it.
Not at all.
Right.
We have a completely different belief and vision of what a crone is. And we are here to kind of reclaim that title in a proud way.
Absolutely. In fact, I will read you two little things. One is a definition by Ellen Lorenzi Prince. The crone, the ancient holy one. She holds the power of age and time, of retribution and of transformation. Ancient, though not always aged, she may be beautiful, but she's not pretty. Right?
That is great. Yeah.
And especially in the whole lexicon of maiden mother crone, it is towards the end of life when you have some wisdom. But what's happened now, and this is another quote here, is to many, this phase of life represents failure and fear. A failure to stay young, a fear of getting older, a fear of irrelevance, a failure to represent those things that a modern patriarchal society values. The crone or hag stands for divine feminine knowledge, deep and ancient wisdom, facing our pain, feeling the sharp edges of our lives, trials and tribulations, spirituality and faith.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, when Leea and I have known each other a long time,
Yeah, probably about 25 years. Yes.
probably about that. And we've become really much closer over the last few years, really.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and it's been we have great conversations, and so we're hoping that we will be having that today before we get into the whole conversation that we want to talk about. Leea had an idea that we should always pull an oracle card of some sort to help sort of be how would we say it? An overview, a
Yeah.
support.
And
Yeah.
maybe even a guide giving us some structure to the conversation that we're going to have.
Right. And so here I am shuffling Mother Peace cards, which are very appropriate for wise and wicked crones. And I'm just waiting for one to jump. It's going to be most helpful. Oh, cool. Okay. It is the High Priestess,
Oh, perfect.
right?
That's perfect.
I said to Leia earlier, wouldn't it be funny if the crone jumped? But High Priestess is. So, High Priestess is about balance. She has the pillars of thought on either side of her. She is grounded in her passion and her woman blood, and she is wise. She's divine feminine. I mean, that's so it's that energy is all around today. So that's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
That's a
Okay.
great.
So Leia, why
Yeah.
don't you take over here for a little bit?
Okay, so we kind of envisioned this particular podcast to be an opportunity for us to discuss issues that are pertinent to us and issues that are of great interest to us, because I think there's kind of a gap out there in terms of what is being offered to women of a certain age and women approaching a certain age. And I think that this is a chance for us to have all kinds of discussions on a whole variety of topics. And that's what we intend to do. So it's not just about aging. It's about hobbies. It's basically about life. We're also not here to do any men bashing, because that's not the point of it at all. But we will talk very frankly about societal norms and how things have kind of gotten to the point where they're at. There's a lot of great reading material out there for people who want to get a little bit of a background and a little bit more of an understanding. The book that I've gotten into lately is called Haggitude. It's by Sharon Blackie. She is a psychologist, a very wise woman, and you can see by all the little notes and notations, I'm really getting into it. So she defines well, Haggitude refers to a hag with attitude, and again, it's really interesting because I kind of observed a little bit when I've been reading that there's a lot of descriptive words for old ladies that are not flattering. Hag being one of them, bag, crazy old lady, old bats, old trouts, don't know that one, but all kinds of words that describe women who are aging. Yet, if you think about it, there's very few that describe men who are aging, except maybe dirty old man and, or as my friend pointed out this morning, old fart. So, there's very, very few that really talk about in a flattering way about aging women. So, and the thing of it is that we have to accept the fact that there are phases of our lives, and you referred to it earlier. You talked about maidenhood, womanhood, and the crone or the hag part. Well, that kind of refers to women who are past their childbearing years, in past the menopausal era of their lives, maybe even past perimenopause. And when you think about it, women experiencing the fertility years, it's only about 15 years of our life, of a lifespan of about 85 potential years in our modern culture. Like, most women live to be well into their 80s. So that being the case, that means that there are 70 years that are not defined by that thing which we think is most important, which, or some people think is most important, or society has led us to think is most important, is those childbearing years and the younger part of our lives when we are supposed to be our most alluring and attractive and vital and important. But the reality of it is we actually spend probably a lot more time in the crone years than we spend during those particular points of our life.
And sometimes what's happened is it's like people think, oh, well, once you're a crone, well, they don't want to become a crone because they still want to be attractive. They still want to be sexual. Well, you can be a crone and still be sexual and attractive, but it's not the driving force. And I mean, I'm not saying it's the driving force for people in that middle range, that mother, developing the career, developing the family age. That's not necessarily it, but it's like, society is always like, well, hair color, wrinkles, like all of this stuff that, whoa, women aren't supposed to do that. Like, for years on movies, I'm so sick of seeing old men and women who are 40 years younger than them as couples. Actually saw I've seen actually both. There's two movies right now with older women and younger men having romances. Have you seen either of them?
No,
So
I
the
have not.
one I saw last night is Nicole Kidman and Zac Efron. I don't remember what it's called. I liked it way better than the other one because the other one, the guy is like a lot younger, but he's also a rock star, and so there's all that rock star attention.
Okay.
But this is two people and her daughter sorting things out, and it was really interesting to see. And of course, it didn't just happen there. The age thing is mentioned, which is never mentioned when the guy is older, but
No,
at
exactly.
least it's moving forward. And I think there's a really good one with, is it Helen Mirren too? So it's, anyway.
But it's interesting. So that kind of brings up an interesting point. I want to say two things. Well, one thing really is that Cher is dating a guy who is half her age, as is Madonna. So these are women of a certain age dating men that are considerably younger. So that's kind of interesting. But whenever there is a movie that comes out like that, where that's an older woman, a younger man, that is remarked, but you rarely hear the opposite when the guy is much older and the woman is much younger. So again, it's a society thing where people are not comfortable with it yet. There's still a questioning about why that is happening. Like, what is she after? What is he after? What are they both after in a particular type of relationship like that? Rather than just letting it
There's
be.
the relationship. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. And it's one of the things, but at least it's like it's a step forward. We're finally starting to get some steps forward. But they're not very big steps yet, but hopefully it just starts to come, right? Like,
Well, yeah, and the other thing is there is the that's kind of troublesome a little bit, or a lot troublesome really, is the idea that somehow aging is something we have to combat, we have to fight it. We have to retain this youthful look. And if you look at how, and I am all about taking good care of yourself, and that's going to be a topic for another day.
yeah.
But there is a point where it becomes kind of ridiculous with some of the efforts, especially you see it in Hollywood stars, where they end up becoming completely unrecognizable because they're not aging, they're not aging with grace, and they're not graceful about their aging. And there are a lot of stars who are. I mean, look at like a Helen Mirren who pops into mind, who runs around in a bikini and evening gowns and totally embracing everything that there is about her. She looks way better. Sorry, go ahead.
This is an audiobook that I've been listening to. I don't know if it's coming up forward or backwards on the screen, but it's called Radiant Rebellion by Karen Walrond. And one of the things she talks about is the amount of money on anti-aging products and procedures and how it has ballooned over the last 10 years, like ridiculously, and not only for women, also for men. And that the anti-aging products, if you didn't know, what would you guess would be the average age women start using anti-aging products?
I don't know, probably in their 30s, 20s or 30s.
25.
Yeah.
25. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, babies, like girls, women, come on, right? Like, and I'm only saying babies and girls because, you know, it's like, oh, sweetheart, like, come on.
Yeah. Come on now. And it's funny you should bring that up, because that also brings to mind the fact that women in their 20s are now starting on Botox. Now, totally honest here. I've been getting Botox for 25 years. And you only get it in the top of your head. It doesn't go into the bottom of your face, which probably accounts for the fact why the top of my head looks perfectly smooth and the bottom of my face
I have bangs. I don't know that they come and go, but I don't do Botox, so I can make, well, I've got this one, but I don't really, it's like, it doesn't.
Well, I started because I had the 11sies, and everybody would say, why are you frowning all the time? Why do you look so angry all the time? Why do you look so pissed off all the time? So I thought, whoa, I better get the 11sies. But it's just like the geranium project. You know, when you plant a geranium, then you have to clean your whole house. That the problem with that is that if you get it here, then you've got to get it here, because you got to get like a whole forehead done. Anyways, where I was going with this is
Go ahead.
the place I go to get my Botox done. All the young girl receptionists are there with so much injectable, so much Botox in their forehead, super inflated lips. I'm starting to get to the point where I can't tell the girls apart.
Wow.
There's that kind of homogenized Kim Kardashian featureless look that these girls are embracing. And much to my absolute horror, and I know we're going off on a little bit of a tangent here. Twice I've seen this young girl in my neighborhood. She cannot be older than 16. You'd think she was a Kardashian, like skin tight workouts outfit with the tank, the half tank, breasts popping out the top. Her face is alabaster white, as is her hair. She is wearing more makeup on her face than I have in my makeup bag. And I'm thinking, oh my God, like, what are you doing to yourself? You look like, you look like a Barbie doll. You don't even look like a real person. You've lost your character. You've lost your features.
Well, and that's showing that the pressure, right? The pressure to conform, how young it starts. And so there's young women dealing with it, there's girls dealing with it, and then there's us crones dealing with it, as we crones say, hey, I'm allowed to have white, silver hair, gray hair, and not get fired from my hosting job, as happened to Lisa LaFlamme. A big part of that, right, was she didn't fit what the mold was. She let her hair go natural. Well, so we have to, as we claim, hey, we're allowed to do this, then hopefully it will also peter down. It's like, and I'm not saying don't moisturize. I'm not saying don't do what makes you feel good, but I'm saying perhaps look at why it makes you feel good and what that is. I mean, there's a song that I always sing in my choir. It's called Quiet, and it's put on your face, know your place, shut up and smile, don't spread your legs. And I was singing it, and then it's like, I can't keep quiet. I won't keep quiet anymore. But we had women coming up to us afterwards saying, I have heard all those things. I've heard all those things all my life. And then, or guys come into bars and they say to the waitress, oh, how come you're not smiling? Like, where's your pretty smile? It's like, where do men usually get off making those kind of judgments, right? Like, we get to be who we are, and aging is not unnatural.
Well, I think you've brought up kind of two different, actually three different topics. You've talked about aging and accepting the the beauty in aging. The other thing that disturbs me a lot, and you touched on this, is the and I think about it a little more, is the homogenization of what beauty is. So there is this standard of the Kardashians, there is this standard going through Hollywood, there is this, so we want to we want to look like the best versions of ourselves. There's a movement to look like somebody else. You know what I mean? Like an idealized Barbie Kardashian face that no longer has any character. So that's kind of the second topic. And these are topics that we can get into in the future. The third thing that you raised, which is in this book, in the first chapter, even in the introduction, is this issue of women being quiet and being nice and being sweet and don't get mad. Like, men, when they're authoritative and losing their temper and whatever, well, he's taking charge. Women, well, you're just being a bitch, you're being blah, blah, blah. You're being aggressive, you're being assertive. And these are characteristics that are not necessarily completely, they're considered not to be feminine. And I do remember my first mother-in-law, and she was a lovely, lovely woman, and it's not disparaging her, but she didn't want me to raise my voice. She didn't want me to argue. She wanted me to just sit back and take it with a smile, because that was what you did. And that's not what I do. That is not what I do. And that's not what I have ever done. So that really bothers me. You also remind me of something else. And I was going to bring this up at another point. I'll probably bring it up again. There's a movie. Have you ever seen the movie called Death Becomes Her?
I don't know.
No, with Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep, and it's got Bruce Willis in it. It never did really well at the box office, but it's worth watching if you're interested in this particular topic of aging, particularly with Hollywood. So there's there are these two women, and they're in the Hollywood milieu, and they're trying to prevent aging from happening. And it's kind of a fantasy movie. So what they go through, it's quite hilarious, I think. But at one point, I think I'm pretty sure it's a Meryl Streep character. She's trying to put makeup on. She's like supposed to be like in her 40s or 50s or something. And she pitches the makeup and she goes, "Makeup is pointless." And and it just made me laugh. Like, really, like, what are we doing? Look better. I got a little bit of blue on my eye, or, red on my lips. Like, what is all of that? But again, that's a whole other topic entirely.
Oh, we have like a list of probably 100 topics that we were going to be looking at. And we also are going to be having guests on different times. But one thing I wanted to do today was the definition of wicked, because everybody knows what wise is. And now we've talked about what a crone is. So wicked comes from the Old English word Wicca, which a lot of us are familiar with in terms of Wicca, witchcraft, witchery, witches. But Wicca was, it meant a witch, a wizard, a soothsayer, or a wise person. So I think there we go. And I mean, wicked, it's one of those things like, ooh, something, the wicked queen. It's never the wicked king, is it? But so we know that one, but there's also the playfully mischievous, like, oh, you got a wicked sense of humor. Or, it's now in the lexicon as meaning like awesome, right? Like, oh, that's a wicked cake. So anyway, I did just want to add why we are wise and wicked. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And I think I love all the different connotations, because wise is pretty straightforward, right? Either wise or you're stupid,
or foolish,
or ignorant, or whatever.
Unwise, yeah.
But wicked has so many different connotations. And I guess with the title, the first thing that popped in my mind was wicked sense of humor, because we do have a sense of humor. So
we crack ourselves up all the time.
I know. Sometimes we don't even know why. But I think I think that was the first thing that popped in my mind. And but also wicked in the sense that almost interchangeable with the word kind of it's not really sassy, but kind of a sort of a sassy, assertive type of perspective. Because one of the things that we were gonna, or maybe address at another time, but I kind of want to bring up now is something that really, really disturbs me. And I call it, for lack of a better word, a word that I made up, I call it the cutification of old people. And particular cutification of women. And this you see mostly in memes on Instagram and Facebook, where you see something that is supposed to be a joke, poking something fun at older women in particular. You don't see it as much in older men. And it's kind of that, well, aren't they cute? They're imitating younger people. Aren't they cute? Or they're imitating this, or they're behaving like that. Isn't that adorable? Well, that really bugs me because, I'm not cute. Kittens are cute, puppies are cute, babies are cute. I don't want to be thought of as cute. I think that it's a diminutive term. It is a possessive term. And it's not, we are not cute. We are wise. All of us have accumulated, and it's on a scale, it's on a bell curve. We've all accumulated life wisdom and perspectives and understandings and things that we can see that you would not have seen or learned unless you had gone through the aging process.
Yeah.
And there is a big difference with people who confuse information with knowledge and experience. And the difference is believing and knowing. And we, you might recall when in our Party Light days, we had some excellent speakers, and the one whose name totally escapes me for the moment said something that is I think about all the time, and it's the difference between believing and knowing. And that 10,000 years ago, people believed very little but knew a lot. So their knowledge came from their experience and interaction with the environment, with nature, with everything. And they had some belief systems. Nowadays, in our modern culture, we know very little, but we believe a whole lot. And there's so much stuff that comes through and so much misinformation that it becomes really difficult for people to filter out what they believe from like a belief or an opinion and actual knowledge. So a lot of what people say is knowledge. It really isn't. It's a belief or an opinion.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we want to do here is kind of crack that egg wide open and talk about what is real based on our knowledge and experience, which has allowed us to form opinions and beliefs, but not that you create this belief or this opinion and then all of a sudden it becomes your reality when in fact it has no basis in reality whatsoever. It is something that's been dreamed up by somebody else, and you heard it, you pulled it down, you believe it, and now it's become true to you.
I find that I'm double checking everything now because there's just so much falseness and falsehoods, and with AI getting crazier. I mean, in the last week, I saw a video of Pierre Poilievre trying to sell some sort of insurance investment thing, and I'm like, really? And then I saw the next day the same sort of thing, but it was Justin Trudeau. And it's like, yeah, I didn't think so the first time either. And it's like, because they can make it look like the person is really saying things, but people, it's critical thinking. There's a lot of taking away of critical thinking. And sometimes people don't even want to say they're wrong. Like, one of the things I have learned how to say is I can be wrong, or I need more information, and sometimes it's like, okay, I didn't know that. Maybe I need to reconsider. We can't be stuck. We have opinions. I would say you and I are both fairly opinionated.
You
But
think? A little bit.
you think? But hopefully it comes from a place of experience and knowledge that we have gained and learned, right? And thought about and fact checked. I mean,
Exactly.
the picture of the baby eagles with the white heads, Like eagles don't, bald-headed eagles, American eagles, they don't get white heads until they're like, I don't know, through 2 or 3 years old. And here they are, these pictures of these, and people are going, oh, aren't they cute? No, it's pretend. It's like it's AI. And that's across the board. And it's also back to what Leea was saying about how we're supposed to look too, or how we want to. And I want to look healthy. Like,
well, yeah, exactly. And I've said this I have said this over the years, and I say this all the time. You got to figure out what kind of an old lady you want to be. And, you know, whereas you need to make that decision probably in your 40s, because I believe that it's my perspective. I'm not basing this on anything other than my learned experience. Up until the age of 40, your body kind of forgives you for everything. But once you turn 40 and you start heading towards those perimenopausal years, you got to really make some hard and fast decisions about what kind of an old lady you want to be. So as you change, as you grow, and as you change, as you go through the seasons of your life, you have to enter this season of your life not hanging on necessarily to the things that worked before, which are no longer going to work for you, because you are not the same person. And there are a lot of misconceptions about aging. Like when I see these stupid jokes about people not being able to get up off the floor and do this and that, yeah, admittedly, sometimes there is an issue with that. But I'm in better shape. I'm in as good a shape or better shape than I have been since I was in my 40s. And I can run up the 3 flights of stairs in my house. So the issue for me isn't that. And I'm getting kind of a bit of tired of some of those jokes and memes that are coming through.
sure.
So the perspective, sorry, I want to back up a little bit. We are going to give knowledge and experience or an opinion, and based on what we know as from our knowledge and experience. But there is also something that's like perspective, which people may not necessarily agree on. You know, we can get into some really gnarly subjects like abortion, and that will be perspective and so on and so forth. We don't necessarily have to meet in the middle. We can have our own opinions on that, and we can both be right from different perspectives. You know, and that could be a discussion topic, for example, that where there is no resolution. But there is a whole lot of crap that we are going to try and dispel because we know it's not true. And we know that it has no basis in reality, but for some reason it's gotten stuck into people's brains, and they have turned that belief into what they think is knowledge.
Yeah.
And that's really troublesome. Okay.
Yeah. We want to take this wisdom and share it and have dialogues too, right? Like all this.
We want input. Exactly. We absolutely want input from other people. I think that's really, really important. So, you know, going forward, we are going to ask people to like and subscribe to our channel. We are going to ask for suggestions on topics that you want to discuss, things that you want us to look into. We plan on doing some research into some topics. Some topics we're just going to wing it from the top of our heads.
From the depths of our experience.
Because we know what we're talking about.
And when we don't, we acknowledge it, right? So
oh yeah.
So please, starting today, like, subscribe. The channel is called Wise and Wicked Crones. So that's the name of the podcast. That's the name of the channel on YouTube. And so the problem Leea and I have sometimes is we keep going because we always find more things to talk about, but we're going to call it here. we will be back in 2 weeks, probably, more or less. So we hope you've enjoyed this. We hope you've enjoyed this. And come back.
And thank you for giving us tell your friends, and thank you for giving us your time today.
Oh, and if you're not a member of our Facebook group and you are a crone, please look for it and ask to join. It's a private group so that women can have private conversations about some things, but hey, everyone can subscribe.
There you go.
All right. Hey, see you soon, Leea.
Bye. Thanks, Margaret.
Bye, everybody.